Hello, I'm back with your daily update with footage that emerged last night of an illegal street rave being broken up in Hackney, London. Riot officers were called in. It did turn into a bit of a riot. There were bottles thrown, barricades made and thrown at the officers. I'll play the footage that was captured. Now, this is a very telling scene that's unfolding now, because I think it demonstrates the mentality of the crowd. I'll explain why I think that at the end.
I'm fine. Yeah? Let me get through the wall! I'm fine, mate, I'm fine. Honestly. This is fucking wrong, this is going to lose it.
So I think this is just another example of anti-police sentiment. They're there to shut down an illegal rave, which was keeping the neighbours up for the entire night, doing their job essentially. Everyone participating was aware it was illegal. I think this is just all in the midst of the very race-sensitive anti-police war that's raging at the moment. It's a complete shame, a complete shambles, but that small clip which I isolated before, I think that demonstrates the mentality of the crowd perfectly, and I'll explain why. Right, so off the bat we notice that the crowd has the numbers. There's clearly several hundred people present, and we're dealing with a handful of riot officers, so they have the staggering advantage by way of number. So the police, they maintain their defensive position, they're huddled together, they're a small target, and a seemingly non-threatening stance. Capitalising on this, you can see the protesters' front line moving in. But what we notice here, and very crucially, is the front line is the only line. You have a secondary line of bystanders who are huddled quite close to the front line, who are actually doing nothing. They're participating in no way other than just being there. They're not even hurling objects or anything like that. And then you have a wider, more dispersed band who look aggressive and look as if they are tacitly involved in this specific standoff with this specific huddle of police when they're not. And what you'll see is when the police decide to break their ranks or to, enact strategy and rush the protesters, the whole thing completely crumbles. The reason why the police can do this is because they understand the man or woman to their left or right. They know them or they trust them. They all have they're united in their convictions, so they can make these charges against perceived large numbers of people. Now, what that is something the protesters completely lack. They seem to lack trust in each other. I don't think they really know one another, other than the fact that they're united under this very specific momentary cause, potentially linked to larger problems in society, potentially not. And I think it really shows in the disorganisation. There is probably about 7 or 8 aggressors there. Just watching the clips, 7 or 8 I can count, possibly a few more. Now, in no way am I saying that the others and their presence, completely exonerates them from any participation in this quote-unquote riot. But what I am saying is they're not contributing. They're not active combatants. They are there disrupting the peace, essentially. And I'm not trying to give them a get-out-of-jail-free card, and I feel they should be charged fairly. But it just goes to show, when you observe a lot of these protests, it really is just a front line. Everything behind that front line is very much on the fence, very fight or flight, more so inclined for the flight. Which is no degradation of the crowd itself. If anything, it's a positive. It means they're not. I think a lot of people understand they're doing wrong. They're not deeply rooted in their convictions. When you hear terms like Nazis and authoritarians and oppression, etc., which are very true fears in today's society, true problems as well. But when you hear these terms, you would imagine the ferocity in which you would attack them would be paramount to or akin to the kind of steps you would take when saving a family member. You would hit these targets with such emotion and such ferocity that there would be no stopping you. And it shows in revolutions across the world when oppression, does get real and it becomes a real problem. The violence that erupts on the street from the working man, quote unquote, or from the underclass or the oppressed, it's ferocious, and it normally works. I mean, it just strikes me that not a lot of these people seem to be united in conviction. More so, they're there for the thrill of the moment, or for a half nod to wider issues that potentially link to whatever's going on at that time. I may be wrong. But it's incredibly disorganised, and I don't think it's the threat it's perceived to be. It's really all front line. Nothing behind it. And obviously, this is an opinion piece. I am an amateur opinion journalist, so I am biased, and I'm making the leap that this is a protest as opposed to a direct reaction to the breaking up of a street party. It's an overreaction, if that, and I think it ties in quite nicely or perfectly with the anti-police sentiment of today. So I'm attributing direct cause. That's what I feel it is. But what do you think? Are you making that leap? Is this in the wake of recent tensions, racial tensions, anti-police sentiment, brutality backlash, or perceived brutality backlash? Or is this just a straight reaction to a party with revellers just thoroughly upset that they were told to stop drinking and go home? I doubt the latter. So what do you think? Please make full use of the comment sections. This has been the Daily Update, and I will see you on the next one.